Hey everybody, it is week 3. It is 18 degrees out. I'm in North Lake Tahoe. So it is noon, it is 28 degrees out and snowing, just arrived in Tahoe City, here this time with Casey. And we're gonna get bundled up, head out to the pier and try and recreate the same photo that I've shot in all types of weather. So let's see how it goes. Brought snowshoes. Don't think we'll need them. Hope we don't need them. This is a location that I've shot 3 other times, maybe 4. In all types of weather. Looks like we're gonna have to do a little bit of off-road hiking, as it turns out. Maybe we should have brought the snowshoes. Okay, so I'm sinking in about about 2 feet. So we ended up going to get the snowshoes. It's a little too deep to walk without them, but these are helping quite a bit. The great thing about this, and the reason it actually makes me a little more excited for this photo, is that it means no one has actually walked on this pier since a snowstorm blew through, which is what I want in this image. I have several variations, and a snow one would be awesome. It's noon right now, and the clouds are starting to break up a little bit, so we might get some we might get some interesting sky when we get there. So disappointingly today I forgot my carbon fiber tripod, which is what I use in the snow. Even though it gets a little wet, it's lighter and easier to carry, whereas this one's just heavy and bulky. But rather than drive home, I'll make do.
Struggle bus here.
Oh, okay. All right.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite a hike. We're almost there, but we do have some gray clouds and stuff blowing in back here. Hopefully it won't ruin the shot too much, but I was hoping for a view of the mountains all the way around the lake. But in the middle of blizzard weather, can't be too picky, I guess. So that's where we're headed. Clearly no one's been out here. It has snowed way too much. Should be able to get some great shots. So I know, just from having been here as often as I have, that I'm about 5 feet from the floor. I'm already falling to my knees with snowshoes on. Blaze a trail. So this is looking great. I'm really excited for this shot. It's not going to be as perfect as I hoped. Like I said, I mean, ideally I'd be able to see all the way across the water. That's not the case today, but as you can see behind me and in front of me, no one's been out here yet, which means I have untouched snow. It's nice and fresh. Hopefully I'm sounding okay. My nose is stuffed. It's cold out. It's still only about 30 degrees, but I still should be able to get a really clean shot of the pier covered in snow. Can't wait to see it. Okay, so the hardest part of creating this particular image is actually getting to this location. The temperatures dropped a little bit, got bigger gloves on, cap and everything like that, but I got my shots squared up. Like I said, this is an image that I've created multiple times. So the main thing that I want to focus on when I come to this location each time is recreating the shot as close to the other shots as I possibly can. Some of what that involves is just making sure my camera is level and lined up, but I always also check on my cell phone just to make sure everything's square. Now if you look at the tripod, I actually forced it all the way down onto the wood below us. That way it's even. I don't use the level on the tripod itself. I tend to use the level within the camera. Depending on your camera model, you might have one built in, but that tends to help. I think I may already have this shot. It only took a few tests, but the tricky part is, if you notice, we have a storm rolling in over here. They're expecting blizzard conditions tonight, so it's going to be very dark and very gray, potentially very soon. So what I'm actually having to do is expose my image for the background over here in the left where the sun's breaking through in the mountains. I don't want that blown out. I'm still going to want detail there, which will still leave plenty of detail here in the darker areas. But if you blow out your highlights, you're going to have a terrible image, and that's just not going to work. The hard part is, since I don't have glove liners, I need to keep taking my hands out of my thicker gloves just to be able to control my camera, so they get cold pretty quickly. So with the storm rolling in over here right now, I can actually play a bit with my settings and do some longer shutters. It's going to give me a little bit more motion in the water. I'm not entirely sure if I want that or if I'll even like it in post, but since it's dark enough that I can stop down far enough to get that motion, I may as well, and then I can look at it later and decide then. So I don't know how well you can see this. You can see it a little bit, but the blinking here, that's a highlight warning on my camera, and that's for the highlights where the sun's breaking through over here where the mountain range is. A minimal amount like that I can pull back in post-production and still get a great image. It's only been about 5 minutes and it's already a lot darker than it was before. We've completely lost the sunlight over here on the left. So we're gonna hang out 5, maybe 10 more minutes. It's starting to snow. It's definitely getting darker. That in itself can create a really cool image. I don't know if you can see any of these snowflakes. That might create a really cool image, and I'm excited to see what we might be able to do with dragging the shutter, getting some more motion in these waves coming in, and just getting a dark, moodier photo. I've created a couple of those, but that's just kind of what you have to deal with winter weather, darker clouds, in this case snow, but sometimes the results are awesome. Literally just said that last bit. It's been about 30 seconds. Look how much darker it is already. Hopefully that's showing through on the video. But this blizzard is definitely blowing in right now. Hopefully these photos rock. Just a little windy. Another thought while I'm out here, usually I try to bring a lot of my gear, but since I knew we were gonna have to hike through the snow, I left a lot of it at home. One thing I almost brought and now wish I did was my medium lens. I'm only shooting wide angle here on the pier, but this back here behind me would be a great image if you had a medium, potentially a zoom or a longer lens to zoom in, get those trees, get the snow blowing in, and just get this really great shot. The reason you want to telephoto is to compress that image. But that's a shot that I'm missing today because I was lazy and didn't bring all my gear. Okay, so the snow out here is only getting worse and the sky is only getting darker and more gray. I think I have enough shots that I like. It's certainly not going to get any better. The weather's only going to keep getting worse, and the downside is obviously the sky is just going to be a solid gray. There probably isn't much reason to stick around a whole lot longer. One thing I do want to mention though is when you're out in weather conditions like this, like with snow specifically, keep your lens cap on your lens in between shots. Like if you're waiting for the weather to change, things like that. Otherwise you're going to get snow accumulating. So my GoPro died right there at the end, so I guess we're calling it a day. So Tahoe City ended earlier than planned today due to the storm. We're heading out again right now. Sunset's approaching. It's overcast and cloudy, so it may not work, but I'm dragging Casey with me to go check the east shore and see if there's anything interesting out that way we might be able to capture. Okay, so it's basically sundown. We're at a new location at one of the overlooks, parked on the side of the road. We're gonna attempt a photo. I honestly have no idea how it's gonna look. This is one of those situations where it could very easily suck, but it's worth the shot because we're here. So we're gonna take a look. So we're gonna try this area here right now, just to check it out. I'm gonna get out the camera, take a look. All the snow here is untouched, so I at least want to look at it through my lens before I start walking across all of this, trying to find a good spot, because this might work. See, this could be really interesting if I could get up higher and shoot downward. But I'm pretty sure this is a bush, not a rock. Okay, so we're gonna try a photo purely for the sake that we're already here. It's worth an attempt. Okay, so right now, I think I actually am standing on a rock. I'm on the very edge, but I'm back up against this bush. This actually might end up looking pretty neat. That just sounds stupid, pretty neat. Because it's so dark, I can do a really long shutter, 3 or 4 seconds, and still get a proper exposure without blowing out the snow, but also get some at least slightly interesting detail in the clouds. The clouds are pretty boring because of that blizzard that's blowing in, but gonna hang out for a few more minutes, take some more shots, see what I can do. So here's how the shot's looking right now. If you remember what I was saying earlier about the exposures here, nothing's blown out, so I might experiment a little more, maybe do a longer exposure. This right here is 8 seconds. So if I drag it out, maybe it'll look a little brighter, maybe it won't. Hell, on the GoPro, it looks gorgeous, though. All right, I'm gonna try one last one, and then we're getting out of here. A vertical with all the snow-covered rocks right here in the foreground, the water and the mountains there in the background, and hopefully just a little bit of that tiny bit of blue sky that's showing through. All right, it's getting dark. This camera's having a hard time seeing me. We're using a cell phone light. The photo itself looks interesting in camera. Hopefully in post, I'm gonna have enough space to adjust it, correct it. I'm standing on a rock in the snow, trying to straighten my tripod. That's a little difficult. It's getting dark out. The sky's a little more interesting. This is working for me. Impossible for you to see, I'm sure. I'll put a final image right here. If I got something to work, hopefully. Looking cool? Yeah, maybe? Anyway, gonna do a few more. We're gonna get out of here, grab dinner, try again tomorrow. So we're out here again. It's sunset again. And sometimes you just have to rally and force yourself out of the house. Casey was down. I was a little more interested in staying inside. But the clouds and the weather today look a lot cooler. So we're heading down to check it out. So there are some very cool areas down this way to climb down and swim during the summer. But I don't know how difficult that is or isn't in this weather. Partly because of safety and partly because of laziness. I think I'm gonna shoot right here and not have to worry about trying to climb down any of that. Today I remembered to bring my carbon tripod out. Which might be a little easier, might not be this time around. But this location should look pretty interesting, especially compared to yesterday. The hardest part of this is wearing these huge gloves. So with this image, I'm going to try for a panorama, which means I need to do my very best to get my tripod even on uneven surfaces, standing between a bunch of boulders in the snow. I need to raise the camera just slightly above the bushes that the GoPro is resting in. That way, when I rotate, I won't have anything blocking it. That being said, when you're leveling your tripod, make sure you're looking at the correct level, because I wasn't.
All right. Oh my God. Whew, okay.